AITA for telling my mom that her apology isn't enough? I, 22F, am my mom's, 40F, oldest child. She has another daughter named Andy, 4F, that she and her wife Ella, 38F, had together shortly after they got married. I'm not very close with my mom. My bio dad wasn't the best person, and I know that in her eyes, I was just a reminder of him. When I was 8, she sent me off to live with my grandmother, and really the only time I ever heard from her was when she'd send money for me every few months. I spent a very large portion of my childhood wondering why she didn't want me, or why she never seemed to even like me. I would always create reasons as to why, convincing myself that I must have done something wrong. Before Andy was born, and my mother and I had sort of started to speak more than we had previously, my therapist suggested that I just sit my mom down and talk to her directly. Instead of wondering what the answers were, I could just hear them from the source. My mom told me that she sent me to live with my grandmother because she couldn't stand being near me. Me being out of her sight made it easier for her to pretend I didn't exist, which then made it easier for her to go on with her life and heal. I don't blame her for feeling that way. Like I said, my bio dad isn't a good person, and I get why she couldn't handle being my mom. I don't necessarily forgive her because I was a kid and I deserved better, but I also don't hold her totally responsible because I know she was going through a lot. I'm not sure how much her wife Ella knows about our history, but she has been very clearly trying to get my mom and I to reconnect. I guess she wants me to know Andy. Maybe they both do, but I'm not sure. My mom asked me to meet her for coffee to talk. While we were at the coffee place, she told me that she was sorry about how things played out between us, and that she hoped her apology was enough for me to forgive her. I said that it meant a lot to hear her say sorry, but that her saying it wasn't enough for me to just forgive and forget it all. I understand her and I empathize with her, but I can't forgive her. After I left, she ended up texting me and telling me how unfair I was being to tell her that her sorry wasn't enough. She said it took a lot for her to get to the point where she could own up to this, and me just saying it essentially meant nothing, really hurt her feelings. In her last text she said that I didn't have to outright say I can't forgive her, especially since I do seem to want to have some sort of relationship with her. I could have just kept that info to myself. I guess she's right. I definitely didn't have to say it, but I did. Edit. Please read my comments for further context. Sorry I didn't include it here, but my mother isn't a narcissist and I don't think she's a bad person. I think we're both unfortunately products of our situations and I'm not mad at her. Not really. I don't like that it happened, and I wish that I could change it, but I obviously can't. I recognize that she was hurt, but I also recognize that I was a child, and while her hurt explains why my childhood was the way it was, I know it doesn't entirely excuse it. You didn't screw up. You don't owe your mother a thing. It is her who owes you, not just an apology, but actually owning up to the fact that she abandoned you and she pretended you did not exist. Does she realize the enormity of this? She doesn't. She had her issues, however, those issues affected and traumatized you. She had her issues, but there was no reason for you to pay for them. The fact that she is still making you feel that you screwed up means she hasn't acknowledged that her issues, in which you had no part whatsoever, affected you big time. If she apologized, was only to make herself feel better about herself and to somehow ease her conscience. But her apologies have nothing to do with you, your feelings or the trauma she caused you, actually. Nah, I'm guessing from the way you've spoken about your parents' relationship that your mom may have had to deal with some non-consensual stuff go down. In that case, I can totally see her reasons for acting as she did in the past and can see how much she would have to have worked to get to a point where she could try and mend the relationship. I can also see why, having been through all of that, she might feel like she's owed some forgiveness or at least leeway. However, you are allowed to feel upset, abandoned, angry and whatever else about your past. Kids need to feel loved and it's heartbreaking you didn't feel that from your mom. Additionally, forgiveness isn't something you can just switch on and call it a day. It takes a lot to forgive someone and sometimes it's not possible to forgive. So nah, you don't have to forgive your mom, just focus on feeling your feelings about it all. But equally, she's been hurt and has her feelings about it all. I'm just really sorry for all of you, as it seems like a truly shish 1tty situation to be in. I hope you could maybe start anew with her one day. Just because you can't forgive her doesn't automatically mean you can't turn a new page and have a relationship with her or with your sister and stepmom.